My name is Andrew Montague and I'm the Chair of Ballymun Local Drugs Task Force, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here this morning, and it's great to see such a big crowd coming to this very important conference on the Strengthening Families programme. The Drugs Task Force, Ballymun Drugs Task Force, the work we do is all about reducing the harm that drugs are doing in our community. And for Ballymun in particular, there's been a huge amount of harm over the years. We have historically had the highest rate of opiate use in the country, and we still have that today, and that's by a long way compared to any other community. So the damage we've seen in our community from opiate use, the loss of lives, the damage to families, the massive upheaval in our community in Ballymun has just been something dreadful, and it's led to a huge amount of crime and people leaving the community if they got that chance. Now things have stabilised, and for most of those opiate users today in Ballymun, most of them are stable on methadone and doing reasonably well and leading stable lives, but we still have by far the highest opiate use in the country. And we know from research that drug and alcohol and tobacco use, they happen most in our most marginalised communities, in our most stressed communities. And so part of our work is about reducing that stress and strengthening the protective factors in our community. And adolescents are a particularly difficult age group to work with and to make progress with. It can be very difficult, and there's very few evidence-based programs there that really can make a difference with adolescents. But that's where Strengthening Families can make a difference. And we know that as adolescents get older, that their peers have more and more influence on them. But the influence of the family and the parents still remains very strong, and we want to strengthen that influence and improve the connections there in the family and improve the parenting skills of the parents. Since 2008, Strengthening Families has been in Ballymun, and we've worked with over 100 families in our community. We're on our 12th programme at the moment, and we've been doing our own evaluation in Ballymun, and just locally we've seen significant improvement in the child, family and parent outcomes. So we're very pleased with the programme, and we can see the difference it's making in our community. Up to now, the programme has been aimed at 12 to 16-year-olds, but we're expanding it to the 6 to 12-year-old age group as well. And the programme, and hopefully we'll see this visually on the map, is all around the country in most counties of Ireland, and in several counties there's lots of examples of it. So Strengthening Families programme is not just another programme. It's about working with families, and it's about building protection and support for our communities. And it's a locally based and it's an evidence-based programme. And Minister, I suppose we're looking for you for help in backing this locally and backing local work, because it's the local community work where people know what's happening in their community, which I think is so important, but also backing evidence-based practices such as this. So I hope that you'll hear today more about the programme and about the evidence that's going to be there. I'm going to be chairing the morning session here, and I'm going to be keeping the speakers to time as best I can, so I'll be keeping an eye on you. So the first person I'm going to call on is our new Minister for Primary Health Care with responsibility for drugs, and somebody who I know is going to do a lot of good work in the coming years, and a good friend of mine, Alex White.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the kind invitation to open this very important seminar conference today. It's my second official engagement as Minister, so it gives me enormous pleasure to be here and to meet so many people who are so closely engaged with what's a terrific initiative, as Andrew has said. I have responsibility, as has been stated, for the National Drug Strategy, and I'd like to thank once again you for your invitation, in particular Cliona Mahoney and the staff and the board of Ballymun Local Drug Task Force for extending this invitation to me. I'd like also, if I may, at the outset to acknowledge in particular my friend and colleague, Councillor Andrew Montague, the chair of the task force. During his time, as many of you will know, as Lord Mayor of Dublin, Andrew Montague set up a commission on antisocial behaviour and highlighted the need for early intervention and prevention. rather than, as it were, always reacting to such behaviours after they have occurred. And I think that this positive approach, as in fact he's touched on already in his remarks at the opening here, this positive approach is evident in the very theme of today's conference, which is focusing, of course, on prevention work in families. The aim of the conference is to explore the evidence for family-based prevention through the experience that has accrued from implementing the Strengthening Families programme in Ireland. And I do very much agree with and endorse the emphasis that Andrew has placed and you are placing today on this importance of evidence-based research in the first instance, and then setting the groundwork for implementation of strategies based on evidence. The conference brings together academics, experts and practitioners in this area from Ireland and further afield, some of whom I have the pleasure of meeting just before we started, one or two of whom I've had the pleasure of meeting in the past, and look very much forward to working with them and with you and with people engaged in these issues in the months and years ahead. I'm really delighted to see, it's a full room, see so many representatives of different bodies here today to engage in this work. The conference will provide a range of local, national and international perspectives, as well as feedback from some of the participating families in this work. At the core of government policy in relation to drugs is the need to have a strategy to try to prevent our young people from becoming involved in drug use. All too often, as Andrew has said, it is the youngest members of our communities who bear the brunt of mistakes made by policymakers, sometimes by politicians and by governments, and of missed opportunities. Identifying these young people and connecting with them before drug use becomes an entrenched habit and a dysfunction becomes a way of life, is quite simply the only way to stop the tide. Research has identified risk and protective factors for substance misuse, and these show that effective drug prevention must not rely solely on giving information on the harmfulness of drugs, which of course is important, but must also build self-efficacy through the development of social and personal skills. The National Drug Strategy, for which I have responsibility as Minister, recognises the role of family support in building the resilience of young people who may be at risk of becoming involved in drug use, so that they are better equipped to make healthier lifestyle choices. The strategy advocates the development of supports for families experiencing difficulties due to drug and alcohol misuse, as well as targeted measures focusing specifically on the children of problem drug and or alcohol users. If we are to deliver better outcomes for such families, we need to identify the factors which contribute to the most effective interventions. We need to pay close attention to the evidence base in relation to what interventions work best for families, and today's conference provides a perfect and very welcome opportunity to do just that. A recent evaluation of the Strengthening Families programme in Ballymun clearly demonstrates the benefits for those families who took part. The families experienced improvements in their relationships, better parenting skills, and improved mental health. A marked improvement in positive behaviours was also noted in relation to the young people involved. The fact that over 87% of the families involved completed the programme is of itself, I would suggest, testament to the success of this approach. I was also heartened by the fact that over 20 agencies from across the community, voluntary and statutory sector, have supported the programme in Ballymun. This reflects the fact that families have multiple needs, often requiring a range of responses, and it highlights the importance of agencies working together in an integrated manner to meet these needs. I'd like to re-emphasise this morning the Government's commitment to the continued implementation of the National Drug Strategy to tackle the issues surrounding drug abuse. Building on the work previously done in relation to drugs, we're moving now also towards the formulation of a national substance misuse strategy incorporating alcohol. Recommendations of a steering group on such a strategy were published last February and contained a package of measures to tackle the issue of alcohol in our society in a comprehensive way, covering price, availability and marketing, as well as prevention, treatment and rehabilitation issues. I intend to bring concrete proposals in relation to this to government before the end of this year. Returning again to the theme of today's proceedings, I'd like to focus for a moment on the importance of strong communities, as has been identified. Research has shown that engagement in the community, volunteering and a positive community spirit act as a buffer against the dangers of problem drug use. I would like to acknowledge the contribution that drugs task forces have made to date in piloting community-based initiatives, such as the Strengthening Families programme, that strengthen the capacity of communities to prevent the development of drug and alcohol problems. As you may know, we've carried out a review of drugs task forces, and I hope to shortly bring forward measures to strengthen their impact, building on their achievements to date. We must all work together to tackle problem substance abuse, and I recognise how important it is that the communities most affected by the drug problem have a strong and coherent voice in the development of drug policies for their areas. Your conference will also feed into the policy-making process, and I can assure you that I will be looking forward with interest to the outcome of your deliberations today. I won't, unfortunately, myself be able to be present for the full day because I have to be in the Dáil dealing with legislation, but I certainly will ascertain afterwards what your deliberations were, what your conclusions were, and I look forward very much to reading and considering them, and also to continuing to engage with the people at this conference, the many organisations here, the many individuals here, in order to bring forward the best possible policy response to the range of issues that you will be discussing. So I'd like, in conclusion, to wish you all an enjoyable day, fruitful day, productive day. I trust that the workshops will be of considerable benefit, as I'm quite sure they will. Thank you all, and very good morning.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thanks for taking the time from your busy schedule, because I know just starting the job you've got, there's a lot of time pressures on you in the moment, so we appreciate you coming along.